Welcome back to Pure Solves. Today we're diving into a beautiful and slightly mysterious build, the Owls in the Moonlight puzzle from Ravensburger, part of their Starline series. For those of you who don't know, Ravensburger's Starline series is essentially the glow-in-the-dark range. When I first saw this one, I knew it was going to be a difficult build, and I've actually been putting it off for quite some time. From the box it looks like a lot of blue and white, but today is the day I'll finally tackle it. This is a 500-piece puzzle featuring a stunning nighttime wildlife scene with 4 owls, the parents and their 2 baby owls. Pretty cute. After the build I'll be showing the glow-in-the-dark effect, so make sure to stick around for that. And for those of you who prefer a clean uninterrupted view, there will also be a full overhead time-lapse later in the video where you can watch the entire puzzle come together from start to finish. Alright, let's get started and see if this is really as difficult as the picture suggests. Just to reiterate from my last video, I'm still experimenting with how I showcase the build progress, and since I only have one camera, the showcase build and the later overhead time-lapse are actually 2 separate solves of the same puzzle, so they'll have different solve times. My strategy from the beginning here was to flip all the pieces as quickly as possible while pulling out the edge pieces and setting them aside. On different puzzle builds, I've experimented with just flipping the pieces and leaving the edge pieces in the mix, but this approach tends to lead to slower solve times in the long term. Having the edges separated gives me something to work on when I get stuck on the main build. I can usually get through the full piece flip and edge pull in just under 5 minutes for a 500-piece puzzle. Also during the flip, something will almost always stand out. A specific color, a texture from some sort of object, or a repeating pattern, and that usually gives me a natural starting point, so I won't always begin with the edge. In this case it was the stars in the blue sky above the owls. As from the image they only appear in one concentrated area, they stood out immediately to me and I thought it would be a quick early win to knock them out. So right after finishing the flip, I pulled out anything with stars on it and started assembling that section, as you can see on the screen now. I've built a few glow-in-the-dark puzzles from various brands over the years, going back probably 15 to 20 years now. And one thing I've definitely noticed is how much the quality of these types of puzzles has improved. Back then, especially with some of the brands I used to build, you could actually feel the phosphorescent ink, just a fancy word for glow-in-the-dark ink, on the pieces. It had a slightly rough raised texture, almost like a coating sitting on top of the cardboard. Now just to be clear, I can't really compare that directly to Ravensburger from back then, as I wasn't building their puzzles 20 years ago. But with this puzzle, and the previous Starline puzzle I built a few months ago, the pieces that contain the phosphorescent ink feel exactly the same as the rest. You can't tell where it is from touch alone. There's basically no noticeable difference in texture at all. It's just something interesting I noticed. So at the 1 hour and 29 minute mark, I have built out most of the sky and edge. The puzzle, while mostly blue and white, still has enough subtle color differences to work with. It's not quite as difficult as I initially thought it would be, but it's definitely still far from an easy puzzle. At this point I don't need to start shape sorting yet, but I can already tell it's coming soon. The owls themselves, with all the similar whites, greys and feather patterns, are definitely going to ramp up the difficulty quite a bit compared to the sky. A little bit more about this puzzle though. The box states that the artwork is licensed through MGL Licensing. They're essentially an art licensing company that works with artists and publishers to distribute artwork across multiple products, including puzzles. By digging a bit deeper, we can actually trace the original illustration back to Kentaro Nishino. I probably mispronounced that, so apologies for that. Kentaro Nishino is known for detailed wildlife artwork, and he clearly has a strong appreciation for animals. From his official website, he mentions that his artwork often features a family-orientated theme. He talks about how animals care for their young in family units, much like humans do, and he sees them as special beings that deserve respect. It's a nice bit of meaning behind the image, and you can definitely see that come through in this puzzle with the parent owls and their two chicks. If you're interested, you can check out his website for more of his work and background. Now at the 2-hour mark, I decided it was time to shape sort. As you can see on screen, I've grouped the pieces into a few categories. First, the 2 ins and 2 outs in their own sections, and then the 3 ins and 1 out pieces, which kinda looks like a little man shape. Next up are the alternative 2 ins and 2 outs, but all orientated in the same direction, which makes it easier for me to rotate them mentally while placing them. Then we've got what I call the castle pieces, 3 outs and 1 in, and finally at the bottom, everything else that didn't quite fit into a clean category, including a few small connected sections I managed to put together along the way. Looking at the box, we can see what's left is basically just a whole lot of owl, and that's going to be where the real challenge begins. With shape sorting done, this should now help me finish off everything around the owls pretty quickly. Looking at this now while recording, I can already spot where the owl eyes should go. So let's place those in quickly. Let's talk a bit about the Ravensburger starline range itself. From what I could find online, it's sometimes called the color starline and is known for its glow-in-the-dark features. It looks like the range was first released in the early 1990s, with the first titles appearing around 1994. Some of the early puzzles included Stormy Stallions, Moonlight Stallion, and Pegasus. Later in the 90s, the series was marketed as Color Starline, with puzzles like Misty New York in Starlight, released in 1996. Over the years, Starline has been used sporadically for a range of glow-in-the-dark themes, everything from Disney characters to animals and landscapes. Most Starline puzzles are either 500 or 1000 pieces, and it seems from what I can see that people really enjoy collecting these. And as you can see, the shape sorting immediately makes it easier to complete the background surrounding the owls. As this build starts to near completion, I'm definitely getting excited to see what this is going to look like later tonight in the dark. And there we have it, my first complete solve of this puzzle, coming in at a total time of 2 hours and 42 minutes. Not quite as difficult as I expected. As we pan across the finished puzzle, you can really appreciate how beautiful it turned out. For those of you who want to see this puzzle come together uninterrupted, I'm going to show the overhead time-lapse now. This is actually my second build of the puzzle, and yeah, you can watch the entire process from start to finish without any commentary. After the time lapse, I'll be back to show you what this puzzle looks like in the dark. Enjoy the time lapse. And this solve came in slightly faster than my first, at 2 hours and 26 minutes. Now it's time for the glow in the dark reveal. It took me a little while to get a good shot of the glow, but I hope you enjoy it. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. As you can see, the glow flows naturally with the artwork. Pretty cool. And that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the process of the puzzle build. Let me know your thoughts. I think it was a pretty fun puzzle, although slightly on the more challenging side. It really is a wonderful glow-in-the-dark scene, and I hope my camera did it justice and that you enjoyed it as well. Thanks for spending time with me. If you want to see more puzzle builds, you can find them in my puzzle builds playlist. I'm Pierre, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, enjoy puzzling.